Howdy folks. Well, 2025 is now officially over, and before we completely tear into 2026, I thought I'd share some of the highlights of 2025 for Otter Creek Garage. Some of the projects we worked on, what happened to them, whether we made any money or whether we didn't. Let's go.
Alright, so first up on the list is this Sakuki track dumper. Bought this at the first auction of the season. I did not go up to the auction yard ahead of time and look at it, which I probably should have done, because it was in very rough condition. I was a little disappointed when I went to pick it up. However, the motor did fire up right away and ran fairly well. I was sort of impressed by that. The tracks were terrible. They were in terrible condition. That was one of the main reasons I'm sure it ended up at the auction, because they were torn in several spots. You can see me here doing a bit of a farm fix here with some chain and some nuts and bolts, which does work, but I mean, it's not ideal. New tracks for these are pretty pricey, and the machine wouldn't be worth what the new tracks would have cost. So just did that quick fix there and put it back together. Well, I freed up all the tensioners and bogey wheels and whatnot. I think the major problem the major problem with this machine was that the steering wasn't working. The valves that drive each side, they were sticking, and every time you pushed it, it would push both. So it just took me a little while to free that up and get that working, and it wasn't a huge deal. I probably spent about a day working on this, and that was. So we got it steering, it runs good, we got it dumping, well, it was dumping, and I'm just taking it outside here to go for a run and check the steering, check the dumping, all the functions. We got it working okay. So I paid $1,000 for this at the auction, which was too much once I got there and saw what it looked like. The dump box itself was in pretty rough shape. It did hold water, believe it or not, but it was pretty rusty. So $1,000 was too much, for sure. I did actually sell it that same evening that I got it working. Facebook Marketplace, a guy came and offered me $1,100 for it, and I said okay. So I really didn't make any money. If you want to factor in my time, I didn't make any money at all, but I got my money back out of it anyway, and it was a pretty cool experience. So it just goes to show you, it's worthwhile running up to the auction yard a couple of days before the auction sale if you can, and look around and have a physical look at what it is you're going to be bidding on. It's would have saved myself a bit of hassle here if I'd have done that, and later down the road I did start to do that. Anyway, that's that one. So next on the list we have this old, from the early 70s I guess it was, a Lincoln SA 200 mobile welder. It's powered by a 4-cylinder gas Continental engine, which I am somewhat familiar with. Those older Continental engines, they put them in lots of different things, old forklifts and stuff like that. So I had some experience with those. I probably monkeyed around with it for, if you add up all the time I worked on it, it would have been a couple of days. So I got it working, running well. It welded pretty good. I tried it out, and I was really happy with the way it welded. It's very, very smooth. So all I really had to do to get it running was clean up the points in the magneto and put a little bit new wiring. Some of the wiring had rotted out on it. I got a little bit of new wiring going on there. So over the course of a couple of days, I got it running. It ran well. I ended up having to buy a battery for it, so you know, the battery cost me $100, or maybe a little more than $100. I did have a whole mess of welding cable, probably 200 feet or better of heavy-duty welding cable. I've had it for years. So I paid $500 at auction for this machine. I've spent $100 on a battery, which I had to buy from the store, and I hooked up the new welding cables and tested it out and got it working, and I ended up, my friends over at LK Welding, they offered me $1,200 for it with the cables, and I said okay. It was a good deal for them with all that nice cable, and I knew that, but they're a good bunch of fellas over there, so I let it go for that. I made money, and he was happy, and I was happy, and Bob's your uncle. So that one was a win. I'm going to call that a win. So next we have a lawn roller. Picked this up at the auction sight unseen again. It was a little rougher than I expected. The pictures never do the machine justice one way or the other. I mean, sometimes they're better than they look in the pictures, and sometimes they're worse. This one happened to be worse. It didn't run. So luckily, all that was really wrong with it was that the motor, I believe, it just got rusty inside, and it was stuck, and they couldn't get it working. They couldn't get it to run. It's a pull start, so you try and pull it, and it was just stuck, you know. So all I really needed to do there was I poured a wee bit of, you know, penetrating oil down the cylinder and played around and got it freed up. Got it to start, and it ran pretty good. I did find that one of the drums, I think it was the rear one, if I'm not mistaken, had a big split in it. So my guess was that somebody left it full up with water, and it froze and split the drum. So I welded that up so that it would hold water again, and filled it up with water and tested it out. Ran it a bunch up and down the driveway and on the lawn, and did a few minor things. Put a kill switch in a little bit more convenient spot, you know, up near the seat where you could shut it down if you needed to. And I did have an old seat kicking around that I saved off some old tractor that was in good condition, and I threw that on there instead of that rickety old crappy one that was there. I spent I don't know, maybe 2 days monkeying around with it off and on, and threw it up on Marketplace, and there was a young fella close by here that has a property maintenance company, landscaping company, and he offered me $1,000 for it, and I said, come get it. So I paid $900 for it, which was probably too much. Again, I didn't go up and look at it. I probably wouldn't have paid that much if I'd actually looked at it, but whatever. So I made myself $100, which, again, it kept me out of trouble for a couple of days, but it wasn't a big money maker. But I didn't lose money on it anyhow, which is a win in my book. Okay, so here we have another mobile welder. This is a Miller Wildcat 350D. So it's a diesel. It's powered by I think it was a 4-cylinder Waukesha diesel. I didn't get much information on this. I bought it at a different auction yard than I usually go to, one that's quite a bit further away from me. And since I had done okay on the first mobile welder, I thought, what the hell? So anyway, I got it home and I did get it to run. It needed a new starter, so I had to buy a new starter. The starter was all rusted. I'm guessing it sat outside a long time, and it was just completely seized up and rusty. And so I ordered a new starter for it. I did get the engine running. It took a bit of doing. I guess it hadn't run in a long time, but I did get it running. Now this machine was a bit of a pain in the butt. I had been working on this probably off and on for about 2 months. And of course, I had other things going on in between, waiting for the starter and trying to do some research, because the engine part of it is one thing, but the electrical and the welding part of it is something different. It's not something I fully understand. So I had it for quite some time. As I say, the engine ran and ran well, but the generator portion of it did not. So I did end up having to call in a favor and have a guy I know come and help me out with the generator portion, and it turned out that the windings in the generator portion were shorted out, and you know, in order to have something like that rewound, it wouldn't have been worth doing for what the unit would bring me. So this one kind of bombed on me. I did end up selling, several months later, I did end up selling the engine to a guy who needed a 4-cylinder Walkinshaw diesel for, I believe it was an old Oliver tractor or something that he had. However, the numbers really kicked me in the sack here. I ended up paying at auction $700 for this. The new starter cost me, I think it was about $230 or something like that. It was a Chinese knockoff starter that I ordered off eBay. There was a few miscellaneous other things that I'd ordered, some brushes and some different things that I ordered for it to try and get the welding portion to work, because I really didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of throwing mud against the wall and trying to learn in the process. So this one was a fail, because I paid $700, spent another $300 or $400 on parts, and then I only ended up getting $500 for the motor. So I did lose several $100s on this project here, and that was kind of a bummer. But that's the nature of the beast. You're never going to win every time, especially when it's something like that. Probably shouldn't have paid that much for it, but I think probably if I got $500 for the motor, if I wanted to take all the copper out of the generator portion, I probably could get my money back. And I still have it. I might do that yet. I just haven't bothered. So anyway, this one was a fail, and if I'd have had a 50 caliber machine gun or something, I might have done the old Monster Garage where I took my failed project and just hosed it down with a 50 cal machine gun. That would have been cool. But anyway, ended up selling the motor and got rid of it. Alright, so here's a nice little gem I picked up, and I got real lucky with this one. There was very little wrong with this. I believe it was the brake. The parking brake was seized on it, and so when you tried to drive it, it would move, but it gave you the impression that there was something wrong with the hydrostatic drive, which kind of scares people a little bit, and understandably so. So I figured out that I got the park and brake freed up and got it working. And that's one of the things that scares people about a hydrostatic transmission if they've ever been bitten before. You can buy it, you can test drive it, and drive it on the flat, and it goes forward and it goes backwards, and then you try and drive it up a little bit of a hill, and it just says nope, it won't go anywhere. So the hydro is really weak in it, and it won't let you do any work. It won't let you climb a hill. And I've been bitten by that myself, so I'm assuming that that's why it ended up at the auction sale, because it ran really well. The only other thing that was wrong with it was one of the safety switches in it that doesn't allow you to cut in reverse. When you would put it into reverse, it would kill the engine. A lot of those safety switches crap out over time, and people get annoyed and just give up on it. So I ended up bypassing that, which I normally do on these things when they're not working, because some of those safety switches are kind of dumb. I mean, if you've even got half a brain, you know to look behind you before you start backing up. I mean, you do when you're driving your car. So this one, I think I ended up paying about $400 for this, because it did run well. It started up and ran really, really good. I paid $400, and I spent no money on it at all. The service had already been done on it, so ended up getting $1,000. All right, so here we have ended up buying two John Deere sort of three-wheeled zero-turn type lawnmowers. One was a 510 model, one was a 525. Very similar models. They share a lot of parts that are common. Just one has a wee bit bigger motor and a bit wider deck. So the one had fairly low hours on it, but the body was all beat to hell. The body panels on these are all plastic, very, very brittle plastic. So what I ended up doing was taking sort of two and made one good one. I took the low hour machine and put all the nice new good shaped body panels on it and a new seat and whatnot. And, I mean, the other one did run, but it had a weak hydro in it. The transmission leaked really bad, and it was pretty weak. It wouldn't climb the hill on my driveway. So I made two crappy machines and turned them into one good machine. I ended up paying $900 for the two. I believe I had to buy one new battery and one new drive belt for the mower. So there was about $200. So I had one real nice machine. It was real nice. I cut my lawn with it a time or two just to make sure that it was in good condition and that it would climb hills and turn and do the thing, you know. And I ended up selling the one machine for $1,800 to a really nice lady. I really enjoyed meeting her. She was a real nice lady. So she got a nice used zero-turn machine for $1,800, and so I didn't quite double my money on that, but it was close. I spent $200 in parts, and there you have it. Now, I did go look at these two machines. I went up to the auction sale a day or so before, and I had a look and thought, okay, I think I can make one out of two here. And I figured I could make money on it, so it did help that I went up and had a peek. I'm glad that I did that. So here we have this Arctic Cat Cruiser 1000 that I bought. Now this was an interesting project. I know nothing about ATVs. I did learn quite a bit doing this project, and so the long and the short of this project was I paid $1,300 at auction for it, and I spent all total, I guess, with all of the things I had to put on it. I had to put the new 4x4 actuator kit, which was pretty pricey, about $600. Some new suspension bushing kits I put into it. It needed a drive shaft for the 4x4. You know, whoever owned this before didn't take super good care of it. I don't know the story really, but I had to get the seats recovered, and so all in, I'm into this machine for roughly $2,500, and I have a running, driving 4x4. I took it out on a run, two good long runs myself on the trails, so it's pretty reliable. I do not know how many hours it has on it because the instrument pod was burned out. It wasn't showing how many miles or how many hours were on the engine. So that's one thing I don't know. So parts for these Arctic Cats are a little hard to come by from what I'm seeing. And they're pricey. So I do have a title for this machine in my name, which cost me like $40, whatever. That's no big deal. I did put it up for sale briefly, just to see what was what. I was offered $3,500 by several people on Facebook Marketplace, but they were a no-show. One reason or another. Oh, I have to play hockey, or oh, I don't have any money right now. Like, you know the story, right? I choose not to deal with people like that. Don't waste my time if you don't have any money. Don't waste my time if you can't come pick it up. I don't want to hear it. But it seems to me that it's probably, you know, worth that. I could probably get 35, maybe 4 if I wait. I think if I wait till spring when everybody's got a big hard on to go four-wheeling, then maybe I could get 4,000 for it. I don't think I'm going to keep it personally. I did, like as I said, I did go for a couple of good long trail rides, but the trails, pardon me, around me are kind of lame. They're just, you know, old rail bed trails, and it did nothing for me. I mean, it was cool, but it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't all that exciting. There was nothing really challenging for this machine on any of the trails around me. So, which would mean I'd have to travel north to get better trails, and I really don't think I have time or the interest in doing that, so I likely will sell it. I haven't sold it yet, but I think come spring I probably will. So I'm going to call this one a win, although I don't have any money in my pocket to prove it. I'm going to call it a win regardless. So here we have a little Cub Cadet 124 or 128, I don't recall. I picked this up at the same auction I bought that Massey long tractor that you saw earlier, with the intention of building a small little pull tractor for a beginner. I did it before on my pulling channel, and it was a big hit. So my intention was not necessarily to really make any money out of this, but, you know, help some young fella out, or young girl out that was maybe looking to get into pulling or wanted another machine. So I ended up stripping it all down and going through all the motions of getting it ready just for a stock beginner's machine. I didn't spend a lot on it. I didn't have very much in the way of out of my pocket. I had some old pulling tires kicking around that I threw on it. I put wheelie bars on it and all the things that it needed to be sort of legal like for tractor pulling. So I did put it up on Marketplace. I had quite a bit of interest in it, but once again, most people I don't know what it is about selling things on Marketplace. People seem to just want to like be your friend and shoot the shit, and that's not what it's for, you know. People are trying to buy and sell. If you just want to talk, and you're on the wrong platform, you know. Anyway, I hung on to it for quite some time. I did get a message from one of the pullers that I know, who had a young son and a young daughter that were getting into it, and he needed another machine for his little daughter. So this guy was no fool. He knows what these things are worth. So he offered me $800, and I said, okay, come get it. I really, as I said, wasn't looking to make any money out of the deal. It was just trying to help somebody get started, kind of thing. So I was glad that I could help them out. So he was happy, I was happy, and it was out of my hair. So I think I paid $400 for it. I got $800. I spent maybe $150 in wheel nuts and different things. That was about it. So I did make money, although that wasn't my intention.
Alright guys, so as you can see, after that little taste of what we did this past year, so you win some, you lose some. I think I did okay this year. I really wasn't trying to make a lot of money. I'm just trying to stay busy. My plan is in the next few years to retire from my day job and just maybe make some repairs like I've been doing as a side hustle. So I want to ease into it so I can see where you can make money and where you can't. So I think 2025 was a moderate success. Most of the projects we worked on, we made money on. Some were some were dynamite, and some were an absolute bomb. So what I'm going to change for 2026 is, rather than, so how I came to this conclusion was, it can be difficult as a YouTube creator to know what people are going to find interesting and what people are going to want to watch. I try to make videos that I would want to watch, but I'm not the audience. So rather than decide for myself, I'm going to show all of it. Everything that I do out here, I'm going to show you. The wins, the losses, the failures, the successes. There were many other projects that I did well on, and I didn't bother videotape them because I didn't think they were going to be all that interesting. But I'm going to change that for 2026. I'm gonna show it all. Well, that's all I got for today, guys. Happy New Year, and let's roar into 2026. Talk to you soon.